Hello, it's Farius here, and welcome to Beneath the Music. This is a podcast I've wanted to do for a long time. I had this idea back in 2020. It was lockdown. I had no gigs, and I just finished writing an album, and I really missed seeing people and talking to people. I'm quite a social being, and I've always loved getting to know people and their stories. So I had this idea for this podcast 3 years ago, and for one reason or another, it never kind of got off the ground. I blame being too busy doing A&R and writing music and trying to juggle life in general. But here it is. It's finally here with the help of Enhance. Thank you, guys. And essentially, the idea behind this spoken word podcast is to get to know some of the reality of the artists behind the music that we love. And I just wanted to dig a little bit deeper. I was just like, you know, I'm a fan of dance music before I'm a producer, really. And I've just been getting so bored with reading the same interviews and listening to the same interviews with artists. How did you make this record, and what synth did you use for that, and you know, what inspires you to make this record? I just wanted to scratch a little bit deeper and go literally beneath the surface, or beneath the music, and find out a little bit more about the artists who are making great records, who've got great stories to tell and perhaps don't get the chance to tell them that often. So ultimately, I'm here to find out the story, to go back into people's lives and talk about them and how it shaped their careers and where they are. And yeah, I'm really, really happy that we're doing this. So welcome to Beneath the Music. Our first guest of the series is Estiva. Enjoy. Welcome to Beneath the Music with Farius. And my guest today is Stephen Bond, aka Estiva. He started releasing music in 2007, culminating in his first artist album in 2011 on Enhance Music. Within the space of a few years, in 2013, he found himself on tour with heavyweight DJs such as Tritonal and then Armin van Buuren and others. He's gone on to release a decade's worth of music since then, and has performed from Chicago to Shanghai, from Munich to Mumbai, and pretty much everywhere in between. He once said in an interview, "Over the years, I've come to realise that change is often good. In creative processes like writing music, it's essential to keep moving and to let go." Stephen, welcome to Beneath the Music. And it's that feeling of how you keep moving that I want to explore today. How are you?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm good. That was a nice little intro there. Yeah, great to be here, man.
So let's take it all the way back. You were born in a small town in the Netherlands in 87.
Exactly,
called
yeah.
Ravek.
Yeah.
Big family, small family?
I have two elder brothers, and yeah, it's a small village indeed. And within that small village, I lived quite far from my actual friends who all like lived in a spot in that village, and I lived like maybe 20 minutes on a bike. So a little bit secluded, but that also meant I was surrounded by nature and lakes. So I had a really green upbringing.
And what did your parents do?
Consultant. My father was a consultant, and my mother was a teacher on, is it called elementary school?
Yeah, like a primary school.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so what was life like for a young Stephen growing up in a small town?
Pretty careless. Yeah, I had all the freedom in the world, basically. I could do whatever I wanted. And like I said, it was a green environment, so I always surrounded myself with lots of outdoor activities like fishing, being on boats. Playing outside was a really big part of my upbringing, and that was perfect for where I grew up.
So definitely more of an outdoor kid rather than like a city boy.
Yeah, absolutely. And I do feel now I live in Amsterdam, that's that part of me that that's longing for a green nature vibe around me is sometimes a thing that I'm struggling with.
Yeah. So, so moving forward, 2006, you were at high school.
Yeah.
And you were studying. You were making music at school or in your spare time?
Yeah, it kind of grew naturally. I think I was maybe even around 10, 11, 12. That was my first introduction to writing music. Before that, I was just basically my older brother. He was always playing music, and it was always electronic dance music.
What playing as in like just listening to it, or
Listening to it,
playing
yeah.
as in composing? No, listening to it.
Yeah, listening to. And
what sort of tracks was he listening to?
I remember him listening to happy hardcore a lot,
Oh,
which
wow.
triggered me because, I mean, happy hardcore for a small kid, that's all you want to hear, right?
Yeah.
Jumping up and down and pretty accessible chords and yeah, happy stuff. And later on, he went to a little bit more darker hardcore stuff. And I think that's where I turned a little bit to maybe hardstyle or like the faster Eurodance. And then that resulted in me listening to Tiesto a lot.
Okay.
In Search of Sunrise series was a massive thing when I was growing up. Yeah, so around that time I started to listen to Tiesto. I got in contact with or like a software program called Magic's Music Maker somehow appeared on my PC. And I started trying to get that piece of software, getting to know that piece of software. And then my brother, he thought it was fun as well, but he said, hey, he was a little bit older, so he knew a lot more about software. He said, hey, maybe you should try FL Studio, which was called Fruity Loops back then. And that was a lot more serious piece of software in terms of you could be a lot more creative and you could actually write melodies yourself. So whatever was in my head, I could then start to translate to real music. Basically, that was the start of me actually writing music. And
with no musical. Were you studying music at school, or were you just playing around with it at home?
I had piano lessons, but that was at a really young age. So maybe that triggered something. But when I started with music, then I couldn't really read notes, and now not so.
Okay. I mean, it sounds really at odds, like this beautiful, lovely nature environment, fishing and going out and on your bike. It sounds kind of at odds that you would be sat at a computer, like, making records,
Yeah, I think
it's not they're not two things that necessarily go hand in hand.
No, but at the same time, it does, because it meant I was quite far away from my friends. So after school time, usually all my friends stayed out on the area to play football or whatever, play games outside. But for me, I had to go from school 20 minutes back home.
Mm.
And when I was younger, I wasn't allowed to do that because it was far away, or someone had to pick me up and then bring me home. So sometimes I was playing with them, but not all the times, not as much as my friends did. So that meant I was a little bit more alone.
Mm-hmm.
So I think a computer and playing games on a computer was naturally something I did just to entertain myself.
Yeah. So 2006, you're at high school, you're making tunes on your computer with your brother and stuff. And at some point, you sent your first. You must have known about record labels, and I guess back then everything was just kind of the digital revolution was happening. There were things like Napster and LimeWire and all that stuff. So when you sent your first single or your first record to Enhanced, I think.
Yeah, I remember. I was so the internet was already there, and I think I was using discussion boards, like forums, a discussion board specifically for writing music It was a Dutch board as well, so it was really easy to connect with people for me. And I do remember people like Leon Bolier and Ilke Klein were on that discussion board as well, and they were just starting out, just like me. But they were a little bit further in the process. So whenever they started sharing their music on those boards, unreleased stuff, I was like, wow, amazing. So that kind of pushed me to being there as well. So I was sharing my music on those places, and then you get feedback from like-minded people, and then I realized, okay, people starting to like my music, and then people gave you advice in sending your tracks to labels as well. And I think around that time I got in contact with Will Holland, who was, I think, just about to start a record label.
And you were, I mean, just to paint the picture in my head, you were what, 17, 18, 19? Or younger?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, exactly.
So just graduating from high school, thinking about university.
Yeah. And obviously, when university was I had to think about university. I was also really busy with music.
What did your parents say? Were you like, I really want to do the music thing? But by this point,
they were actually quite easy. They said, okay, you can do what you want to do. We think it's important to get your diploma. So yeah, I went to uni and did that while combining music and while building that career. And sometimes that went well, and sometimes not so much.
So you went to Rotterdam University.
Yeah.
Studied economics.
Mm-hmm.
How did you balance the passion of music with that studying at the same time?
Studying is something that comes quite natural to me, so I don't really have to study hard to get good grades. Yeah. So I'm very fortunate. So it was always just doing last minute studies and then get the minimal grade you needed to pass that class.
Yeah.
And I was loving that. So it was just basically doing very little for just the right thing, and that made me able to write music as well, and also play shows.
So you picked up DJing just on the side, or did you make a conscious effort to say, I need to learn to DJ as well?
Oh, that's actually a good story, because I had a few records out, and they got picked up by Armin van Buuren and other bigger DJs. So my name got out in the scene, and then naturally people come to you, like club owners or promoters, and they're asking me if I could play in their clubs or at their festivals.
And that was just from having one or two songs, one on Enhanced and Armada. Nothing exclusive at this point. No one saying we want to sign you for life.
No. It's just
singles.
Yeah, very much in the beginning.
And had you discovered partying and that whole scene whilst you, like, not as a DJ, but just were you going out and seeing other DJs?
No, not at all. No, still not. And then I think it was for event organization called Luminosity, and it was a show in Utrecht in the Netherlands, and they were asking me to play, and that was like months in before the show actually happened. So I said, yes, I will do it, let's go. And I showed up in Utrecht and played the set, and it was actually fine. I think everyone was dancing and happy with my set. The only thing I was not so pleased about, that I was like super, super nervous. Yeah. Never been so nervous in my life.
What were you nervous about?
Failing, I guess, because everything was new to me, and I knew how to DJ, but there were a lot of knobs on those mixers that I didn't know what they did. I think someone at the very start also helped me out. Oh, actually, that was funny, because I played after Ruben de Ronde.
No way. And he was probably just starting.
Yeah, he was a little bit further than I was in my career, but I was playing after him, and I started playing, and then I think he twisted the volume knob on one of the the channels to give it a little bit more volume, because I didn't know what that volume knob was doing apparently. But yeah, nerve-wracking.
Yeah. So you played Luminosity, that was your first gig, and at the time you were releasing sort of like a series of singles, basically doing stuff with Enhanced, doing stuff with Armada, and doing...
Yeah, mainly Enhanced though.
Yeah.
I don't think Armada was one of my labels back then. I just did Enhanced.
And then 2011, you did your first album.
Yes, that was... I wouldn't say that's officially an album though. It's more of a compilation of stuff I already did, and maybe 3 or 2 new tracks.
Okay.
So back then it was, yeah, more of a compilation of
So I guess
what I did.
Someone like Will was like, let's just put these all together in one place and
Yeah,
see
yeah.
how it does.
Gather your best tracks that you've done and present it as. I mean, you could, like, looking back on it, it was an album, but it didn't really feel like I had to work on an album. It was basically already there.
Cool. And with that, you went off and started playing in North America after that, around 2013. I guess you were playing with Chad and Dave, Tritonal.
Yeah, exactly.
Juventa.
Yeah.
And Will, because
Will also played, yeah. Daniel Candy, Beat Service. Those were kind of names that I saw often on...
and you would have been, what, sort of early 20s at this point?
Yeah.
And I think, like, did you feel you're playing Luminosity, you're DJing with some of these huge names like Tritonal, you're releasing music regularly on well-established labels. Did you feel like this is what the teenager like Stephen wanted? Like, did you feel like I've made it? Like this, I'm living the dream?
No, never. It was always everything comes step by step. So you create new realities all the time, and I don't really have. I've never had any big dreams or big goals within music. I was just I loved writing music, and I loved that I could DJ with my music as well. But I never thought, okay, I want to be the best DJ or the number one DJ.
But there was never a moment when you're sat and you're playing to a couple of thousand people and you think, and you're in the middle of America and you're in your early 20s. It must have been like, wow, I'm being paid to play my music in front of thousands of people on the other side of the world. You went to Australia as well, and but there must have been a moment somewhere in you where you just sit back and you go, I've done it.
I don't think so. No.
No.
Well, maybe during no, not really.
So in that case, were you sort of like, what's next? Where do I go next? What's happening next? Was it just a calm state of, this is just what I'm doing right now?
Yeah, I think that's exactly what it was and is still. I do feel like, you're just constantly creating new realities. So a while back, or like at the start, I thought, okay, I'm doing shows now. That's great. And I see other people or colleague DJ friends are playing on ASOT. That would be great as well. So in that new reality, there were little goals or little dreams, but yeah, there's not a real realization of, wow, what I'm doing is so cool. Or no, I'm just happy that I can write music and do these shows. But it is cool, I guess. But when you're in the middle of it, when you're doing it, you maybe also take it for granted. Or that's just your reality. That's just what you do. And
is there any part of you now looking back and you think, I wish I'd experienced a bit more of this, or I wish I'd done that? Yeah,
I think when you're doing a lot of shows, everything is you do things in a rush, or things go by real quick and you just do the show. Also because it's you get tired and you fly from place to place, but sometimes you play for really big crowds, or like you play Tomorrowland, but after an hour the set is over and then you hardly even realize that you played there. And it's a big thing to a lot of people in the world that you're a DJ and you're playing at a certain place. But like I said, it doesn't really necessarily feel that way for me. But it would be nice to sometimes during your DJ set take it all in and really realize where you are and look at the people around you, and that they're enjoying your music and that they maybe even bought tickets for you. It's just it feels always a bit surreal. So I wish I could find a way to realize more that what I'm doing is super nice, but I do enjoy it, but I just don't feel like, wow.
I mean, you always have struck me as a very grounded person, like really grounded. What do you think it is? Is it something in you? Is it something else in your life that keeps you from getting caught up in that? And I'm thinking about you as a 22, 3, 4-year-old touring the world with the guys, Tritonal and those guys. What is it that stops you from getting caught up in that DJ? Because also at that time there was this huge EDM explosion in America, and you saw David Guetta and Hardwell and Nicky Romero, all these guys, just private jets, all of it. What was it that stopped you from getting caught up in that whole DJ world? Because you were there, you were doing it.
Yeah, I think it's the way I experience all of this. I love writing music, so I'm happiest when I'm in my studio and writing music. And even if the track doesn't get a release, or even actually, I don't really mind if my music gets out to the public. Of course, it's important for me because it's a career for me, but I get the most joy out of being in the studio and creating something. That's the most fun for me. It's not the part where you release a song, or it's not the part where you play that song during a set on a big stage or a great club. It's just the writing the music in my studio, in my space. It's in my world. That's the most fun for me. That's the most important.
But what about when you were early 20s? You must have had that feeling of like...
Never. No.
Not achieve...
It's still the very... Well...
Because you want to achieve success and you want to have that validation.
Maybe, like you said, during the EDM boom, I was thinking a little bit more. I think I forgot about this time, but back then I was realizing, okay, I write music now, and then I started working with vocalists a lot more, and like you said, Hardwell and David Guetta always used a lot of vocals as well. People were singing along with those songs on big festivals, and I was playing the same festivals, maybe not like the headliner slots, but I was there as well. And I thought, okay, I probably should write music like that, that a lot of people can appeal to and sing along with. So I got caught up in that a little bit, and then after a while, I was losing interest in it because it wasn't really what I didn't get that joy in the studio anymore. So then it stops for me, I guess, because even if those tracks are doing well on festivals or on the radio, if I didn't get that euphoria in the studio, then it doesn't mean anything for me. So I think back then, I was struggling a bit, and then there was even a moment that I stopped caring and didn't write any music for half year or a year.
What did you do? In that half year? Or year?
I don't even know. Trying to figure it out, I guess.
Did you ever have a point where you thought, no, like this isn't working, or like I'm not enjoying this sound? Like,
Yeah. Yeah, and then I don't know what I did, but I just left producing for what it was for a bit, and then out of nowhere I got this urge again to be in the studio, and I started to just write whatever came up in my mind, not thinking, okay, this gonna be released on a record label and people are gonna need to like it, so I need to write this.
Mm-hmm.
No, I just wrote whatever came up in my mind, and then I got this bunch of tracks, and I thought, okay, I loved writing these, and these are kind of good. And then I started sending them out to labels, and I think that was during 2016, 17, 18.
Yeah, so I was going to say, so in 2016 you basically finished your relationship with Enhanced at that point.
Yeah, yeah.
And you moved to Armada.
Yeah.
What was the feeling behind that move?
I think Enhanced wasn't the place anymore for me to. The records I wrote that really came more out of my my soul.
Yeah.
Something like that. I thought they didn't fit with Enhanced, and I started sending them out to DJs, and Armin was picking up a lot of them, and then I signed a lot of records to Armada, and Armin kept pushing me, and I also made a massive jump in shows, bigger shows.
So, I mean, when you went to Armada, so as you said, like 2016, 17, 18, and you had a big jump in the shows, you were playing festivals like Creamfields and Ultra, Dream State, and clubs like High in Ibiza with Armin. That must have felt pretty unstoppable.
Yeah, and I think that...
and was there the feeling then of, I've made it?
No, but it's more the feeling that, you have a head and you have a body, but it's being dragged all over the planet on planes, and you're just waiting in your plane seat and in your cab ride and in your hotel to play in another club or festival environment, and everything starts to look at the same thing. And that was sometimes, especially during the summer, sometimes a little bit rough.
Where did you find the enjoyment? Like, because that doesn't sound, to me, that doesn't sound that enjoyable.
I mean, you get a lot of adrenaline from the shows.
Yeah.
But there sometimes was a realization of, okay, this could be more fun than it is right now. And in what city am I again? But at the same time, I started writing a lot more music, and I could fill every set with my tracks. So I gained a lot of satisfaction from that. And it also, I mean, you're making more money, which is the easiest way to see if your career is doing well. I mean, if you look at that way.
And then, I mean, I guess that's a measure of success is if you measure it in financial terms, yeah. But in terms of you personally, like you're flying all over the world, you're in your late 20s, like you must have been missing a lot of like times with friends and friends' birthdays and weddings and stuff, like in the Netherlands. How did you balance that? And there you are being like, so sorry, I've got to go and play in Ibiza this weekend, guys. You know, and I bet all your friends were like, wow, Stephen, that's incredible. But did you not miss like? And how did you balance that, nurturing those real, authentic friendships with the international superstar DJ life?
Yeah. Well, I think I'll never know what my friends truly think, but when you can't make it to birthdays or whatever event that you usually gather for with friends, they understand because you're a touring DJ, and they know the story. They just understand and they accept it. And then what happens? They appreciate it even more when you do show up as some. They were like, wow, you're here, amazing. Yeah. And sometimes they come with me on shows. yeah, brought a lot. We went to a lot of shows in Ibiza, Prague, and then you're with a whole group of friends, and you can really show what you're doing, and they all love it because they're proud and they think it's fun that you're on stage while they're partying.
Everyone wants a superstar DJ friend, right?
Yeah, I want one.
So in 2018, want to ask you about something that happened then. So you were about to release your second album on Armada called Spectacle.
Mm-hmm.
And you always said in interviews up until then that Eric Prydz was a huge influence of yours. And he tweeted a video of Cass Elliot singing her famous song, Make Your Own Kind of Music. And all the dance blogs and all the press blogs, they all picked up on this and they all pointed the finger at you.
Mm-hmm.
How did that make you feel?
I remember I was in I was just about to release my second album on Armada. Oh no, my first album on Armada, I think it was Spectacle, and I was in somewhere in the mountains of Bulgaria doing master classes for people that wanted to write music. And then all of a sudden, my phone kind of blew up, and did you see it? And Eric Prydz kind of hinted towards me, I don't know, sounding a little bit the same like him. Obviously he is a big inspiration because I think he's a great producer, like many other people. How did it make me feel?
That initial reaction.
Yeah, I wasn't too affected by it, but I thought it was, you're getting noticed by someone so respected in the scene, but not per se in a positive way. But at the same time, I thought, okay, well, this isn't that serious because, people tweet a lot, and what's it about? I just write music, and does he mean it? Is he very upset about me having him as a what's it called? An inspiration? I still don't really understand it, but I'd love to ask him one day.
It feels like there's nothing really that can affect you or like that keeps you awake at night.
Well,
because that's
it did keep me awake, but
it did keep you awake.
No, it didn't. It didn't. But
that's quite a big thing. Like someone that you respect and you idolize so much, basically calling you out publicly, and all the dance blogs, the EDM.com, the We Rave, all those ones saying it's Estiva, it's Estiva, it's Estiva.
Yeah, but other than that tweet, there weren't a lot of people that were negative about me. A lot of people loved my music. A lot of people loved Eric Prydz's music as well. And I think 99% of the people, at least what I've heard, weren't annoyed by me sounding a little bit like him. At the same time, I think am I sounding like him? I mean, we both use a kick drum. We both use a snare. We both use progressive trancey melodies. Yeah, is that ripping off someone? If that was what he was hinting at, I'm not sure.
So it did play on your mind. It didn't just sort of come and go. It did.
Yeah, put me off a little bit. I was like, oh well, this legend is saying something negative about me. I'd rather have someone saying something positive. But at the same time, I think it's water under the bridge. I got a lot of support from people saying, don't worry about it. And if there was actually a problem, then I guess we would be in court, and we're not. So
So 2018, 2019, you're busy, you're playing all over the world. You're, as I said, with Armen, you're playing at all the festivals. Then 2020, early 2020, the pandemic happens. And how did that affect, when it initially happened, how did that affect your thinking about where you were going and what you were doing? Because up until that point, music was in a good place.
Yeah.
Shows were in a great place.
Yeah, everything was going uphill.
Mm.
I was in a really good spot, and yeah, obviously for everyone, that was a horrible time. At first, I remember I was booked in San Francisco for my first all-nighter the day after the Dutch government put the country on a lock. So I was really looking forward. I was preparing all week for that all-nighter, because that was really something I wanted to do. Play longer sets and possibly even like open to close sets. And then that got cancelled, and the rest of life got cancelled. And at first I was like, okay, it is what it is. We're gonna relax, write music, and then you feel like, okay, this is getting a little bit too long right now. I want to go out, do shows again, and I've been struggling with that. Like sometimes you feel like okay with it, and then you feel like I want to do shows. I didn't really know what I felt. Yeah, and the longer it stayed that way, it stayed in a negative world. The more you lose your confidence, and the more you ask yourself, okay, if I can't really do music, what am I doing?
And
what was my life?
Was that something that happened to you, like during? I mean, who did you support on? Who did you look to kind of lean on in that? Because it was a pretty dark time for a lot of our industry, a lot of musicians.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
Because also, from the age of 22, you were 21 when you graduated from Rotterdam University. This was your life. You never had anything else, right?
Exactly.
To say, oh, I can just go back and do that economics job that I took and then I left.
Yeah. So
your whole life was turned upside down at this point.
Yeah, yeah. The whole lifestyle, even if you're at home, not having shows, you always had a purpose of, okay, I need to finish this track for the next release. And even that was like not really important anymore, it seemed. I'm always quite on my own, so I'm not the one to reach out to friends so quickly. But obviously I live with my girlfriend, and we spend a lot of time going through it, and she works in entertainment as well, so I think we could discuss it a lot, and we could be of great help to each other. Obviously I had some DJ friends as well who I was speaking about, but yeah, there never were any positive conversations, because there was no light at the end of the tunnel. So
I mean, it must have made you feel quite, in the depths of that lockdown and the pandemic, it must have made you feel quite vulnerable in some ways, when you think, okay, well, this is the only thing I've ever known.
Yeah, I lost a lot of confidence, almost all of it, I think.
Do you mean personally or in your music, or?
Yeah, I think music and releasing records, going out touring, and just doing what you like in the studio gives me purpose and gives me confidence. You feel good when you finish a track or when you're working on a track. And I was always quite not outgoing, but like social and easy to talk to. And I felt like during those years that broke down a bit. And it's still, I think I'm a different person now than I was before. So yeah, I think the confidence thing was the biggest part that put me off. That I always had a lot of confidence, and then all of a sudden, even with group of friends, I was like timid or not so much. And it's also tough because people start asking you about your career, and sometimes they don't really know, and they're just asked, "Oh, what are you going to do now?" But those are quite hurtful questions, because you think, okay, well, yeah, I'm just going to wait, and then everything's going to be fine again. That's at least what you hope. And then continuously you're getting asked questions.
What are you going to do?
And
you must inside. You must be thinking, stop asking me these questions. Like, I'm thinking about this all day, every day.
Yeah. And then I also got dropped by my agency, my booking agency. So.
And was that? I mean, how did that must have affected your confidence as well?
Oh yeah. There was like everything was. It's like the world's getting swept away underneath your feet, if that's a saying in English.
Yeah.
You don't really know what you're doing. You just feel lost, and sometimes you're fine with it and just get back in the studio and write music, but you just don't know.
Would you say that point in 2020 was the lowest?
I think the lowest was, I think during the New Year's times, because then a new year starts, and usually that's it gets spring and summer, so usually that's a moment that's a reset button basically of your year, of your life. So okay, we're heading into a year again, a new year again, and we're gonna do things differently or do things better. And this time it wasn't really giving you tools to work with to make it better. And also when it got spring or summer, sometimes people around me got shows and I wasn't. And I was like, oh wow, why am I not getting shows? And even last year, when things were really looking up again, it wasn't still really looking up for me. So yeah, the insecurity strikes you a lot. But I think what helps is this is my passion, so I stick with it. And I always kept telling myself, if you stick with it and what you're doing is good, because it always has been good. You've been given great opportunities before. It'll come back. It'll be back to normal at one point. And it seems like it is coming to that point again. So
that's great.
Yeah.
So now we find ourselves in post-pandemic and post-lockdowns, and you've got a new album coming and you're touring again. Does it feel like do you feel like the Stephen of, I know you said that you feel like you're a different person since the pandemic, but in terms of your career, do you feel like this is 2019 again?
No, it does feel different. It feels, it doesn't feel like I started again where I left off. Obviously a lot happened and you changed as a person. And also my priorities are different now. Before I think I was a little bit more, okay, I need to make bigger records, make better records, or more records, or everything is going uphill.
That's a lot of pressure to put on yourself.
Well, it was always going uphill, so that was the normal situation for me. So I got used to it. So it wasn't like, okay, I need to do this, but it was just normal for me to have things getting better instead of like going downhill and then up again. It was just going up. And now after starting now in 2023, I don't care so much if things don't have to blow up for me. If I have a lot of shows, if my music is doing well, that's going to be great. But if not, I know I can still be happy if if I don't have a full schedule. I think I'm a little bit more relaxed now.
Maybe that comes with age.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
I mean, it feels like after everything we've talked about, it feels like you've kind of achieved everything you want to achieve. You don't sound like someone who still feels like they're on the ladder. They still need to get up. I mean, do you feel like what's left?
What's left is that I still love writing music, and I can do that tomorrow. So if there's still a tomorrow, I'm looking forward to tomorrow, because that's another day of writing music. And it's as easy as that, I think.
What do you want to be remembered for?
Wow. I don't care, to be honest. Yeah. Yeah, I'm not the one to... I'm not writing music for a legacy. I just, like I said, I write music for myself. I do this for myself. But good question. I hope people remember me as a fun, good person. Yeah, it's as easy as that, I think. I don't need to be anything bigger than that. I think that's just the way to go.
And we're going to wrap up, but my very, very last question is, having talked about everything we talked about, from where you grew up, where you started making music, into the whole touring world and the pandemic and everything, what would you tell that 16, 17-year-old Stephen, knowing everything you know now? What would you say? What would your advice be?
Follow your gut feeling, and just keep close to what you think is fun. And it's about enjoying life. It's about doing what you... If you have a passion, then I think that's it's the very best thing to have in life. If you have a passion, then you just need to do as much as you can to sustain that passion, because it brings you joy, and what's better than that? And I know there's not a lot of people that will be in a situation like me, but it can be any other passion than music as well. It can be fishing or anything that brings you joy. That's just the most important thing. And if you focus on that, anything else will be fine, usually.
Well, I think we've covered a lot.
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
It's been great. Stephen Barn, Estiva, thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Adam.
Well, there you have it. Episode 1 of Beneath the Music with me, Farius. I think that went all right. I hope you enjoyed that as much as I enjoy putting it together with Stephen. My huge thanks to Stephen as well, I have to say, because it's not easy to sit down and have someone interrogate you and ask you questions about your life and know it's all being recorded. So my huge thanks to him for being part of this podcast and my first guest. I'm going to be back next month with a new episode. I'm going to be talking to a really big name from the world of house music, and I think you're really going to enjoy it. If you've got any questions, you want to ask me something, or you want to tell me something, or maybe something that Stephen said really resonated with you, then feel free to reach out to me. My email address is hello@farius.co.uk. I've got a huge favour to ask you before I go. This is a completely ad-free and non-profit adventure of mine. If you enjoyed this week's show, please like it on social media, please share it, maybe share it with a mate who you think might enjoy it as well, and spread the good word about Beneath the Music. I would really appreciate it. Beneath the Music is a Farius and an Enhanced Music collaboration, and I look forward to seeing you next month. See you then.